Hello everybody, welcome back to video 8 and how to make the August tag in my collection. Inks for this one are Tumbled Glass, Rusty Hinge and Vintage Photo. I've used some archival ink in Coffee and the embossing stamp pad, clear embossing stamp pad, some glossy accents, UT, I've got my stamp pads, 2 tags cut out of the Tim Holtz tags and bookplate die, and 2 of the hole reinforcers, and then I've got my letters. I've got a cage and a bird cut out using the movers and shapers. Cage and bird. Some double-sided tape and this correspondence stamp set from Darkroom Door that the movers and shapers are sticking to. And that, I think, is all we need for this one. Oh, a couple of pieces of the vintage seam binding that I've stained with old paper ink. So let me move all of this out of the way and we'll get started on the tag. One of the tags I've put double-sided tape on the back of, and that's going to be our back piece. And so I'm going to start working on the one that hasn't got the tape on the back. Let's just move those over. And I'm going to start by putting some Vintage Photo ink all the way around the tag, all the way around the edges, just working it in a little bit. And then making sure that I cover the edges of the card as well. I don't know why, but I like to do this in mid-air. And this card that I'm using is quite thick, so it's quite good for just sort of holding straight. So that's the Vintage Photo ink all the way around the edge. And then I'm going to turn the tag over and just put some ink around the edge on the other side. It takes a while, doesn't it? So we've got both sides covered, and then I'm going to put some Tumbled Glass ink all over the middle of the tag. I love this blue. I think it's really bright and cheery. Again, just working it in a circular motion and working my way up the tag. Put a bit more on. A bit more down here. And then I'm just going to turn it round and do that top edge. Like that. And then onto that, using the archival ink, the Coffee archival ink, I'm going to do some stamping with the darkroom door stamps. So following the tag that I've made, the first thing I'm going to stamp on is the postmark. There's a really nice postmark in this correspondence collection, and the postmark I put up here at the top. Like that. And the next stamp I'm going to use is the script. It's a letter. It's not easy to find it, it's not easy to read it, but a really nice script. So let's just ink up my pad, and that's going to go over here. So I'm just going to place it on there and press it down, jiggle it around a bit, lift it up, and then let's just get rid of that with my cloth. Let me get a cloth. Let's zoom in a little bit as well. And then over the top of that, I'm just going to stamp the feather. He's really cute, the feather. And I'm just going to stamp him on there. So a really lovely feather. They're incredibly detailed, these stamps, and I've got a few of the boxes of them that I treat myself to because they're not cheap, the darkroom door stamps. So that's that tag prepped and ready to put the embossing powder all the way round. So the next thing I'm going to do, is just make sure that ink's dry, is just press the clear embossing powder, the clear embossing ink all the way around the edge of the tag, over where I'd put the vintage photo ink. And then I'm going to emboss that with the UT. So let's jiggle it around in the tray. Tap off the excess. I'm just going to put one layer of this on this tag. So I'm going to heat that and come back. And here's the finished embossed tag with the UT all shined up, ready to put the next embellishment on. The next thing I did was to cut the postcard out. This again is from the Darkroom Door collection, and I'm going to start to colour that with a little bit of orange. That's the rusty hinge in the front, in the middle. And then I'm just going to go around the edge with the vintage photo ink. Now I'm only going to use part of this postcard. It sort of sits half on, half off the tag. So let's give it an older look. Add a little bit of blue. And then I'm really going to ink it quite heavily around the edge. Just taking the ink over the centre line, like that. And then I'm going to stick that onto the tag and then trim it off when I've stuck it where I want it to sit. So I'm just going to use some tacky glue and just put some of that on the back. postcard on. And then I'm going to turn it over, let's press it down there, and trim it off. So sometimes if you trim from the right side upwards, you get a far better, neater fit and a neater cut. And then I'm just going to ink that edge just to get rid of that white cut line. Like that. And that's ready now to have the bird cage and the bird added. So for both of these I inked them with Vintage Photo. So let's just do that. All over to start with, and then just at one side of the bird cage I added a lot more Vintage Photo to darken it and give it some shadow. And then the same for the bird, excuse my arm. Vintage Photo around the top, if you're following along. And then orange, the rusty hinge, just on his breast. And then I just went over it again with the Vintage Photo just to darken that top edge. And then both of these are going to be covered in beauty. So let's emboss them with the clear ink. Look, he's alive. Let's press them onto the ink pad. And I'm going to emboss them twice to get a nice raised look. So let's put them in the UT. Cover it and knock off the excess, and the same with the little bird. And now I'm just going to heat them up and repeat that so that they're double covered. So here they are all ready to stick down. And I've just threaded the bird through the cage, and I'm going to stick him down onto the tag like that. Just move those off. Right, I've put some tacky glue on the back of the bird cage, and I'm just going to stick him down just there. And just hold him down for a few minutes just so that the glue sticks or starts to stick. So he's all stuck down, and all that's left to do now is to put the letters on and eyelet. So I'm just going to place the letters down there where I want them and then stick them down. Just using some tacky glue. So A first. And the U. And then the G. Yep. And the eyelet, and I've covered the eyelets with, or the hole reinforcers with the Vintage Photo. So let's stick the one on this side, at the top, And then for the back, I've gone around the edge of the back piece of the tag with Vintage Photo. Let's just put a bit more on that corner. And then on the other side, I've already covered it with double-sided tape around the edge and inked the edges as well. So I'm just going to stick the eyelet on there, the hole reinforcer. Turn it over, take the backing tape off and just stick the front and back of the tag together. It's easier said than done. I was doing so well with these. Oh, that's it. So let's just whiz around and take these backing papers off. And then I'm going to turn it that way and line up from the top here. So line the corners and the hole up, and then I line that right hand edge and press the two together. Just squeeze them all the way around. And then all that's left to add to that is seam binding. So I've already stained it with old paper, and I'm just going to tie the two pieces through the top. Oops, this is always really fiddly. So there's one. I cut them different lengths and then spread them out. I cut them different lengths and then tie them separately rather than threading them through together, just so that they sit at different angles. And that's it, that's our August tag finished. So I hope you enjoyed making that one, and I hope you join me back in the next video for the September tag.